I haven't made a video in quite some time, just because the markets were doing what the markets were doing, and there were other people making really good comments, and I just didn't feel the need. But I see a couple things happening. I wanted to share them. The very first thing I wanted to say is that from my point of view, every market is always in an uptrend and a downtrend at the same time. It's simply a matter of time frame. And if you zoom in on charts and you zoom out on charts, you'll see what I'm saying. Sometimes you'll have something that's in an uptrend for a week, but that uptrend is part of a downtrend, and vice versa. Give it some thought, because it's very important to understand the time frame with which you are investing your money. If you're putting your money in for a very short period of time or a very long period of time, the question is, is that an uptrend for you or a downtrend for you? So, given that point of view, I want to go over a couple items off of some of my favorite watched items list. And what we'll do is we'll back up here to the indexes. This is the Dow Jones 30 Industrials. My lines may or may not be very good ones, and nonetheless, it does seem to me that in this time frame we have definitely had a change of direction. We've broken through that top and that top, heading down. Looks like we've crashed through that low, so we have a lower low and a lower high, as pointed out by the pointer. And I think that this trend line is now going to have to, we're going to have to look to this trend line rather than this trend line for the support. In the utility average, we've also rolled over the top. And if I was going to describe what I think is going on in this market, I would say it's a rollover top. Now, that's probably not in anybody's chart books or technical analysis terminology anywhere except mine, but that's what it looks like to me. Here's a 5-year chart on the utilities. I'm going to draw a quick timeline. You can see that uptrend is still intact in the 5-year period. If you come into the 1-year period, you can see where that line goes. But we do have a slightly accelerating subversion of that line, which Endless Mountain made some good comments on a while back in a video about how these lines become accelerating. That line is there, and then lastly we will draw this line across here, and you can see that that index is at an interesting midterm point in terms of months. You'll notice the months down here. You'll notice our other indicators. This is stochastic. This is Williams percent R. And you'll see that we are right down at that line. And that was the utilities. This is the transports. Notice that this line is broken. This uptrend line is broken. We had an interesting, funny little top going on here. And if we're looking at the possibility of the next downtrend line to be broken, it is way down here. And I suppose you could argue that there's some potential support at this level. Where did my little line go? Some potential support at this level. I'm having trouble with that little guy there, aren't I? Okay, some potential support at this level, which makes a certain amount of sense. And we'll have to see what that happens. What happens with that? But that is the structural situation with the Dow Jones 20. Russell 2000. Again, we've got a little pretty abrupt little drop here. I do think this is technically significant in this term, meaning, I expect to see that 780-ish become a testing area, maybe a point of support. But you'll notice that we have this effective kind of rolling over the top phenomenon here. And in my heart of hearts, I got to tell you, I think that that's indicating to us the possibility, and maybe even the likelihood, that we're at some kind of intermediate top, because the next major resistance is probably down at this kind of a level. And you can see it'll step down. We can go back far enough, we can find levels of support, at least in theory, almost everywhere. But this is a market that looks to me like it's starting to slowly, I guess the word would be unravel. Here's the Russell 3000, basically the same chart, nothing much new, different there. I'm going to skip over volatility, and I'm going to go to the Wells Fargo Global Dividend Opportunity Fund, just because it's an international piece. Not everybody's going to like this kind of a fund. In fact, I don't particularly like this kind of a fund, but it's an interesting one to show. However you want to draw this line, you know, this will be a dollar-related play. To me, it doesn't look like something I particularly want to be involved in, because if you come down here to the US dollar index, it is, and this line has slipped on me here, but here is that low, and if you take that as a level, or you take that as a line, a little bit of a rising line very gradually, but you've got to, I mean, this is a really interesting and good chart to look at some things on. Comes down, touches the line, advances, has this top. Without the volume, I'm not going to say it's a head and shoulders, because I don't think you can technically have a head and shoulders without the appropriate volume structure. But you do have this declining, from this top here, you have a declining price trend. Try to get that a little more accurate. Declining price trend. Also, we've come down to what's a new bottom here. Climbed back up, which is like a snap back to that line. Technically very interesting. Snap back to the line, and now we started another decline. The real question for the dollar is not this line, which can go away, but that line, which is, will that line hold? Which is, in terms of the DXYO, US dollar index, is right there somewhere around 73 bucks or so, whatever that happens to exactly be. This is the ProShares Ultra Short S&P 500. I never liked these funds because they seem to be a great way to take investors' money. This is meant to operate inversely to the market, so you can bet on the short side. But somehow they never seem to quite work out for me. But nonetheless, you can see that it is starting to climb. It's as if it's created a little bottom here, and it's a rounding bottom, which is an interesting bottom if you want to read up on it technically. But a rounding bottom develops over time, and usually indicates that the rounding bottom is going to make a climb back out. I'm not sure I would make that play, but reading up on rounding bottoms is interesting at this point in time. That's all I got for the moment.